All right, legal pot, it's hard to believe, is just days away in Canada. But prohibition still very firmly in place south of the border. This could spell trouble for Canadians with American travel plans. BNN Bloomberg's Jamieson Burko joining us with more. Listen, we all know when you get to the border, they can ask you anything. And the fact that pot is legal here in Canada, chances are the question could come up, have you or do you smoke pot? How does that affect us?
They could turn you away, Anne-Marie, or they could even ban you for life from the border. And while that may not surprise a lot of people because they'll say, well, you know, you're admitting to something that's illegal in the United States, what people may not realize is even if you've never touched cannabis, you've never been in the same room as someone who's smoked pot, you're completely disconnected from it. If you've ever, say, bought a share in a cannabis stock, or you have, say, worked for a marketing agency that's been retained by a cannabis producer.
What if you work for one of the new cannabis companies?
That's enough. That's enough to say, because I actually did this full investigation, and it's going to be on our website in about half an hour's time, around 8 a.m. Eastern time.
Worth checking out for sure.
Absolutely, because it all focuses on one main character. It's actually an old friend of mine. She's getting married in Hawaii next year, but she works for a marketing agency in Toronto that's devoted to the cannabis sector. So she's terrified that she might have to completely scrap her wedding plans, and it's all so arbitrary, right? It is almost entirely based on
who you get.
Exactly, who the border guard is that you get, whether they're having a good day or a bad day, if they're a little bit more understanding, maybe not so understanding.
Are there rules in place to protect Canadians against this kind of thing, or it's just really
the arbitrary state of it, and and the inability to know in advance what rules might or might not apply for you? No, and that's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I actually spent a better part of the last week trying to get Bill Blair on the phone, the former Toronto police chief, the pot czar, recently actually added to, no, I mean, that's a term he himself has used. And he's, I mean, recently added to the federal cabinet specifically in charge of border security. No response from his office about
Do you think
any
they're still
clarity.
trying to figure it out?
I would hope so. I would hope that they're having these conversations with American authorities, but frankly, I'm surprised that I'm sitting here saying that I hope so. I would have hoped that by now that I would have been able to get a very long, detailed statement from a federal minister's office. Even if we're not all the way there yet in terms of getting that clarity, I think a lot of Canadians would take comfort in knowing that there is work being made on that front, because right now it doesn't seem like much of anything is happening.
Well, it's worth reading, and you said that's on your website?
That'll be on bnnbloomberg.ca, just about 30 minutes.
And if Minister Blair is watching, we hope for a response very soon.
Certainly, I am willing to read emails and take calls anytime.
All right, thanks, Jamieson.